Hello out there. We're on the air. What's up? What's up, everybody? How the heck are we doing today? Happy Tuesday. Tuesday's a busy day for me. We got the morning show on a couple different channels here, the Visionary Show. And Tuesday afternoon, we do the 88 lessons. And this one is number 5. And I've actually been getting quite a bit of good feedback on this series so far. So we do the live version of this on Tuesdays, which is right now, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And then we watch the clipped part of the lesson on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So we actually had a pretty good turnout on Saturday. I think there was like 40 people watching live. It's called a premiere. So it's not actually live, but there's a live chat open. People are in there interacting, talking, and it's working out pretty good. So welcome everybody. We'll wait a couple minutes here before we get too far into the lesson here. So the way these shows are going, actually, I'm going to spend a little bit more time, I think, today talking about the second half of the show for Bitcoiners. Kind of the idea with this show is I want you to be able to take these clips, and they're all actually in a playlist now on YouTube. You can find them all in there under 88 lessons. And kind of the idea is that I want to make these short and sweet. I think last week's ran a little bit long. It was like 40 minutes. So hopefully it doesn't go quite as long today. But they're meant to like share with friends and family. And for somebody who's trying to understand Bitcoin to a higher level, I think that these lessons are going to be perfect for them. So welcome everybody watching on YouTube, watching on Rumble, and watching on Nostr. It's a pleasure to have you here today. And we're going to get to her. So let me just bring up, should I? I was going to bring up the Nostr chat, but I might get distracted. But it looks like we are live over there, so I'm going to hold off for now. By the way, Rumble has the Rumble wallet. So Rumble is now compatible with Bitcoin and USDT Tether. So if you don't want to send a super chat over on YouTube, you can actually hop over to Rumble and send a fiat zap, I call them over there, with the new Rumble wallet. So I think that just rolled out this week. But yeah, we'll get started here in just a second. A couple, hey, look at this. V, that's absolutely right, man. Bitcoin is the solution to 8 billion people's problem. That's 100% true. And, you know, it's funny because I was actually listening to Saylor. He was talking to Grant Cardone. I think it was that interview the other day. But he said it's a solution for 1 billion people. And I was like, what? Saylor doesn't even understand this? It's a solution for 8 billion people, not 1 billion people. Why is it a solution for 8 billion people? It's because every single person needs a place to store their value. Every single person on the planet needs a place to store their, hey, look at that. Even Zapstream's got the right title today. Okay, so we're going to tell Nostr that we're live, and then we're going to get going with the lesson here. But yes, V, absolutely correct, man. Bitcoin solves a problem for 8 billion people. Pretty big deal. Wouldn't be snoozing on it. So with that in mind, I just got to make sure this phone's almost dead. I just got to plug it in, then we'll get to the lesson here. Okay. There we go. All right, so let's kick things off here with our usual. I'm starting to enjoy these a little bit more. The first couple were, I don't know why I was nervous. Like I do a live stream every day, but for some reason I was nervous for the first couple. But feeling a little bit better today. So let me bring up the 88 lessons spreadsheet, and we'll kick things off here. We got a couple new highlights too, new things we're going to do today that we haven't done previously. Oh, crap. I forgot to read the title. I should have opened this up right off the hop. Joe, read the title. So today's show is titled Bitcoin is Too Risky Not to Own. Bitcoin is too risky not to own. Should have put that in brackets maybe. But going to give a couple different shout outs here. Number one to Gigi. Most people, if you're somewhat new to Bitcoin, you might not have heard of Gigi before. but he is a legendary Bitcoiner. He's an OG Bitcoiner. He's helped me a lot in my Bitcoin journey. And he actually wrote a book called 21 Lessons, a trip down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, something like that. So that's kind of what this series was inspired by, was Gigi's book titled 21 Lessons. And this video series is titled 88 Lessons. So we're going into a little bit more depth, more coverage here, and should be spanning over the next couple of years. So hopefully, I wonder how many people who are going to be here today will be there when we finish number 88. But anyways, big shout out to Gigi, and shout out to Sailor too. Michael Saylor. I know he takes a lot of shit, and especially in the last couple of weeks, he's been taking quite a bit of heat. But Saylor said something along the lines of, people spend 100,000 hours of their life earning money. The least they could do, the bare minimum that they should do, is spend 100 hours learning how to keep that money. So the average person spends 100,000 hours working, earning money. And he said they should spend at least 100 hours figuring out, learning, studying how to keep that money. So that's another part of this course here in the series that we're doing, is I want to keep it under 100 hours. So basically somebody could start with lesson number 1, go all the way to 88, and they would have a very good, deep understanding of Bitcoin. So shout out to Sailor. And number 3 here is a big shout out to you. I see a lot of beautiful faces in the chat here this afternoon. And there's been a lot of people watching this stream and the clips that we've been doing on Saturday. So big shout out to everybody who's taken time, taken on the responsibility. We're pretty lucky. We're pretty lucky, actually. We're very lucky in the sense that we're alive right now. Somehow, some way, all the time throughout history, we landed here now. And we got to take this responsibility on for our family, our future generations. And that's what Bitcoin is. It's generational wealth. So big shout out to you for keeping an open mind, plugging your ears when everybody's telling you that you're a dipshit, and spending some time figuring out how to keep your wealth, store your time and energy. Shout out to you. We got one new member here this week on the YouTube channel, and that's Market Anarchy. So I think it was a resubscription, but either way, thank you very much for signing up to the becoming a member on the YouTube channel. We got a lot of members in the Visionaries community. We got a couple hundred in the Maple Bitcoin community, but I'm going to be adding more and more to the YouTube channel. So if you are interested, I think it's like $3 a month, maybe $5 a month. It's just a good way to support the channel in the fiat world. So I'd appreciate that. And I appreciate Market Anarchy for the new member this week. Sponsors, we don't have any sponsors, as you know. I think it is incredibly important. Kind of my idea when I started this channel 2 years ago now. We just celebrated our 2-year anniversary on the channel. Did our very first live stream on November 17th, 2023. And when I started, I remember I had these big plans that I was going to sign on with a big Bitcoin company, somebody like CoinKite, somebody like Blockstream, all the Bitcoin channels, they all got their sponsors. But I quickly realized how important it was to, how important integrity is in this space, especially in Bitcoin. There's just so much crap out there. There's so many people who are trying to steal things from you and lie to you, not in your best interests. I'll just say that. So I think that Bitcoin, more than any other industry, trust and integrity is number 1. And so I figured if there's sponsors, if I have outside influences, I'm going to be worried about what I say, what I should be saying. And so I just want to be able to speak freely, whatever's on my mind. And so I decided to go sponsorless, 0 sponsors. And so this channel, everything we've been doing for the last 2 years, has been 100% funded by the community here. So pretty cool. It's I am living proof that the value for value method can work. And I hope to keep growing here. The game plan today, we're going to spend the first, 15, 20, 25 minutes talking about lesson number 5. And then we're going to move into some Q&A. If there's any questions in the chat, any topics or discussions in the chat, we'll scan that. And then I'm going to get to some more Bitcoiner stuff. So usually the first half is like geared towards new Bitcoiners or people who want to just, expand their knowledge, sharpen up their axe a little bit. And then the second part is going to be a little bit more advanced topics. We're going to touch on some things from Nostr that happened during the week and some other things that kind of people who are already deep down the rabbit hole would relate a little bit more to. And of course, we got our Visionaries community here. You can see in the background there. It's now on school. There's no Black Friday price. I might do something later in the week, but check it out. There's 100, 200 people. There's going to be a lot more coming in the next month or two into the Visionaries community. And it's just nice to have other Bitcoiners that you can talk to about things, especially times like this. Bitcoin's a very lonely place. It can be a very lonely place. And so you should be part of a community. I would suggest strongly going into like a paid community versus a free one. Because the free ones are just littered with scammers and spam and nonsense. And so I'm not saying you should or you have to join the Visionaries community, but consider joining some sort of paid Bitcoin community because it's going to make a huge difference in your Bitcoin journey. I'm telling you that personally. So I'll have links to the Visionary School community. I'll probably share it at the end here, but I'll have all these links on YouTube in the pinned comments below for everything that we talk about today. So without further ado, let's get into her here. So this is lesson number 5 today. And the show's titled Bitcoin is Too Risky Not to Own. And so we're going to talk about a couple different things here. The main focus is going to be speculation versus investment. How does an investment differ from speculation? So I'm going to actually look at our, oh, that's not the right one here. There we go. I asked Perplexity today, how does investment differ from speculation? So we're going to see what Perplexity had to say about the two here. Because I really believe that when you ask most people who haven't spent any time looking into Bitcoin or studying Bitcoin, a lot of people consider it to be a speculation. It's a speculative asset, they call it. But anybody who's been in Bitcoin for a while knows that that's not true. Know that there's a little bit more to the story there. And so that's what we're going to be diving into today for a couple different parts of this: time horizon, risk, and the basis for decisions. So Perplexity says investment and speculation mainly differ in time horizon. And that's a big part of the Bitcoin ethos is Bitcoiners, for the most part, have a very low time preference. The risk level and how decisions are made. Investment focuses on long-term, researched growth, while speculation focuses on short-term, high-risk bets on price moves. So these are the 3 kind of topics here that we're going to be talking about today in a little bit more depth. So number 1 is time horizon. How long do you plan on holding your capital there? Because basically whenever you're making decisions about your finances, you're kind of like a capital allocator of your family, right? Because you go to work, your wife goes to work, or your husband goes to work, and you earn a salary or your business makes a profit and you pull some of those profits out. And that's your income for the month. Of course, you have expenses that could be your mortgage, your rent, your vehicle payments, your groceries, your gas, and anything that you have left over at the end of the month. That's what you want to be storing. You want to be figuring out how to keep that. That's kind of the main idea here. And so you are the capital allocator of your family. When you're deciding how to store those profits, some people might buy a pair of shoes on the internet, especially if it's Black Friday. Some people might go out for supper. Some people might buy stocks, a little bit more into their S&P index. Some people might buy some gold or silver. So you are the capital allocator of your family. And so when you're thinking about this stuff, it is very important to differentiate between investments and speculation. And kind of going back to our original, maybe I'll share kind of why we're talking about this today. Where's the 88 lessons here? Here we go. So one of the first things that the first show that we did, lesson 1, we talked about basically the expectations versus the reality. So in other words, how the public perceives Bitcoin versus the reality. Anybody who spent time in Bitcoin, studying Bitcoin, understands that most of the expectations in the mainstream narrative is nonsense. So this one here, a lot of people think that Bitcoin is a speculation. They think it's a speculative, risky asset, but the reality is that it's an investment. It's a store of value. It's the best store of value that has ever existed in human history before. And so we're going to talk about why a little bit today. So if we go back to the time horizon here. So it says investments usually mean holding assets for years or decades, aiming for steady appreciation and income like dividends or interest. So we know that Bitcoin does not have dividends or interest, and that's why a lot of people shy away from it too. So we're going to talk about that a little bit as well. Speculation, on the other hand, usually means holding for very short periods, from minutes to months, aiming to profit from quick price swings. Risk and expected outcome here. Investment accepts moderate, measured risk with a reasonable expectation of gain based on fundamentals such as earnings, cash flows, or asset quality. So Bitcoin does not have earnings. It's not a company. It does not have a CEO. There's no board of directors. There's no products. There's no services. And so there's no cash flows either. But what it is it's a quality asset. It's the best store of value. It's the best battery for your energy, your time and energy that has existed in human history before, which is a pretty big deal. So we're mostly focused here on the asset quality for this part of it. On the other hand, speculation accepts a high chance of loss, sometimes total loss, in exchange for a small chance of outsized rapid gains. So the first thing that I think of when I see these two things, holding for very short periods from minutes to months, aiming to profit from quick price swings, and a high chance of loss, sometimes total loss, in exchange for a small chance of outsized rapid gains. The first thing that I think of there is crypto, altcoins, XRP, Zcash, Dogecoin, Ethereum. That's what a lot of people do when they think about crypto, is that they want a real quick return. They want to be able to put $100 into it and get $10,000 next month or tomorrow even. And I think that that's just a side effect of where we are right now in society. It's mostly desperation. That's what it is. Because you see, there's a lot of, I think a lot of people think that it's like 20-year-olds and 25-year-olds and 15-year-olds that are gambling on these altcoins. But the reality is that it's everybody, because everybody's desperate right now, because we're at the end of a fiat system that is dying. It's already dead, in my opinion, that we just haven't had the funeral yet for it. But in that world, everything's going up in costs. They're printing more money. That money's flowing into assets like real estate, like the stock market, like Bitcoin. And if you don't have any of those assets, you're getting left behind, because everything's going up in cost around you. Houses, cars, vehicles, groceries, gas, everything's going up. But because you don't have any assets, you don't have any say or any store of that newly created value, essentially, is what it is. It's artificial value increases. And so everybody's desperate. And it's actually very surprising to me how many people over the age of 50, 60, 70 who are actually taking big bets on some of these altcoins and cryptocurrencies because they're desperate. And they're desperate because they did what society told them to do. They worked at a job for 30, 40, 50 years. And all of a sudden in 2020, the government printed 40% of the money supply and basically stole 40% of their wealth. So there's a lot of baby boomers out there who should be retired right now, who should be in Mexico, who should be sitting on a beach, who should be looking after their grandkids every day, whatever that is. But a very, very small percentage of them actually are. And it's because of money printing. It's because of inflation. And that has led to desperation. And so that's what we're seeing. That's why a lot of people are taking some of these bets for the short term. So the third one here is basis for decisions. So investment decisions are mainly based on analysis of underlying value, business strength, balance sheets, cash flows, macro trends, or long-term adoption. So again, Bitcoin is not a business. Bitcoin does not have a balance sheet. Bitcoin does not produce cash flow, but we can look at these things: macro trends and long-term adoption. And on the flip side of that, speculation decisions lean more on price patterns, momentum, news, sentiment, and less emphasis on what the asset is fundamentally worth. Man, does that sound familiar right now? And I think before we go any further, it is important to note that there is a difference between Bitcoiners, people who actually understand what they're holding, and people who own Bitcoin. There's a big difference there. And right now, if you look at Twitter and YouTube comments, you'll see a lot of this. The charts are saying this. The news, the FUD, the latest quantum, the latest core versus knots, the latest whatever it may be. It's all news. It's all FUD. It's all sentiment. It's a lack of understanding is what it is. So that's kind of the difference between an investment and a speculation. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into this. So I see a bunch of comments in here. I'm not ignoring you. The first part of the show is just kind of like a presentation here, I guess you'd say. And the second part of the show, I'll get to all the comments if there's any questions and things like that. So I just want to say hi to everybody in the chat. I think this is the most we've had for these lessons so far. There's 60 people over in YouTube, and I don't know how many people are on Rumble or Nostr. So let's get to the spreadsheet here. I think the first 4 lessons, I didn't take a sip of coffee until I was done this. So I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable up here now. So let's start with time horizon. This is going to be my favorite part of this one. This is super, super interesting and probably the most important part of Bitcoin to understand. I think that anybody, regardless of your technical knowledge, regardless of your financial background and your literacy, I think anybody can understand this part here. So time horizon, I don't think that anybody who's investing in Bitcoin should be there for less than 5 years, or for at least one Bitcoin cycle, which is 4 years approximately. As we found out last lesson number 4, Bitcoin doesn't really care about the human clocks or the human calendars. It has its own calendar, the time chain. So every 210,000 blocks, there's a halving where the new supply gets cut in half. So I don't think you should get into Bitcoin if you don't plan on being there for at least one cycle, 4 years. And once you get to the end of that 4 years, you're going to learn a lot. You have a little bit of skin in the game now, and you're going to start to pay attention to podcasts, videos, series like this, and your knowledge is going to increase. And so at the end of the 4 years versus day one, you're going to be much more equipped for the future. And then you can kind of reflect. You can say, okay, I've been in this for 4 years, and nobody who's held Bitcoin for 4 years has ever lost fiat conversion. Nobody's ever been in the reds after 4 years of holding Bitcoin. So the price goes up, the price goes down, and that's why we're trying to compare here between investment and speculation. So you should not be getting into Bitcoin if you don't have plans to be there for at least 4 years. After 4 years, that's when you kind of re-examine things. You reevaluate. Maybe you reallocate. Maybe you take some more out of your stocks, put it into Bitcoin. Maybe you sell all your Bitcoin if it's not for you. But you should be here for at least 4 years or one cycle. Here's the magic number in Bitcoin. This is 2 quadrillion, 99 trillion, 999 billion, 997 million, 690,000 sats. That's the magic number. That's what you should get a tattoo of, because that's the most important number in financial history. That's the most important number in financial history. That's how many sats will ever exist. There's not that many sats yet. As we saw last week, only 95% of the Bitcoin has been mined. But at the end of 2140, this is the maximum amount of sats that will ever exist. So it's a pretty big deal. And when we're thinking about the time horizon here, so there was a comment actually on a YouTube post that I made sharing this number. I think it was a nice picture with this number, and said that there will ever only be 2.1 quadrillion sats. And somebody in the comments said, there's more sats than dollars, LOL or LMFAO, whatever they said. And that's a good question, right? Because our thesis here is that one day, one sat is going to be equal to $1. It's going to have the purchasing power of $1 today. Right now, you can buy 1,100 sats in the US for $1. And so somebody said there's more sats than dollars out there, LMFAO. And I said, well, number one, and this is important to understand, there's numbers that they tell you. The Federal Reserve, the Bank of Japan, the Bank of China, whatever it's called, They tell you these numbers. How many dollars exist? How many fiat dollars are out there? How many US dollars? How many Canadian dollars? How many euros, pounds? We have these numbers, or we think we do. But how many of those numbers have actually been verified? The Federal Reserve, who's tied very closely with JP Morgan, they have the ability to create money, and they've had that ability since 1913. And since 1913, they have never been audited before. They have never been audited before, which means that they could tell us whatever numbers that they want to. There's never been any verification over how many dollars actually exist. So even if that's true, let's just say that the numbers, all the numbers that they give us, because they're so used to telling us the truth about everything, let's just assume that the numbers, the figures, the data that they give us are legitimate. There's one key difference here between dollars and sats. One of these goes up forever in terms of purchasing power, and one of these goes down forever in terms of purchasing power. And so we're going to do a little quick experiment here. And I use these numbers here. I've done this before with much larger numbers, and it's kind of hard to follow. So I wanted to use smaller numbers for this one just to kind of prove the point. So keep in mind here that the actual numbers themselves do not matter. This could be 100. This could be a million. This could be a million. This could be 1 quadrillion. These numbers do not matter. It's just what happens with it. So in Bitcoin here, let's say that you have $1. You have $1 in your bank account, and there's only $1,000 out there in circulation right now. So you have 0.001 of the network of the total wealth in the US. You have 0.001. That's your stake. That's your ownership of the US network, essentially. That's what the US is. It's a network. Whereas in Bitcoin, if you had 1 sat and there were only 1,000 sats that ever existed, that's how many are in circulation right now. You would also have 0.001. That's your ownership in the Bitcoin network. But the difference here, there's a key difference. Because with fiat, they print more of them every single day. So maybe today they printed 10. Oh, your ownership just went down. Maybe tomorrow they print 30. Oh, your ownership just went down even more. Your number didn't go up or down. You still have that same amount sitting in your bank account. And then next week they pass a new bill and they decide that we need a new debt ceiling here. We need to send more money to Pakistan for transgender studies. We got to print more money. Oh, your ownership went down even more. The amount that you have didn't change, but because they have the ability to create more of these, your ownership goes down. And then next year we get a new president. Maybe Joey Biden comes back from the dead and he decides that he wants to print more money. And your ownership goes down even further. Again, your number in your bank account did not change, but your ownership of that network went down significantly. You lost 16% there because they printed so much money. In 2020, they printed 40% of the total money supply. So what would that be here? We got 80, 90, 100, 210. They printed 40% of it. So you lost 29% of your purchasing power. You had the exact same amount of money in your bank account. You lost 29% of your wealth. That's the fiat system. Bitcoin, on the other hand, you have 1 sat, and there's 1,000 sats that will ever exist. This will never change. Your ownership of the Bitcoin network will never change. Actually, that's a lie. Because you know what happens in the Bitcoin network? People lose their coins. People lock themselves out of their wallets. What did I do there? People lock themselves out of their wallets. And so what happens when that happens So let's say that Sato Millionero locked himself out of his wallet and he had one sat there. He had one sat in his wallet. Gone, locked out. Your ownership actually goes up. Your ownership of that network just went up. And on the flip side, maybe Cleaner Machine, he had two sats kicking around and he lost the private key, or his dog ate it, or he had a boating accident and he locked himself out of his wallet. So those sats are unspendable because nobody can access that wallet. And so what happens? Your ownership goes up again. So that's the difference here. And it's very simple to understand with numbers like this. And keep in mind here that the numbers do not matter. This could be 1 billion. This could be 1 quadrillion. This could be 100. This could be 100,000. It does not matter. So the basic point here is that one goes up forever in terms of purchasing power. One goes down forever in terms of purchasing power. But the other thing too is no matter how much you have in the Bitcoin network, let's say that you have 1 million sats. You took $1,000 units of illusion and you bought 1 million sats. Your ownership of that network will never go down as long as you keep those 1 million sats protected. You hold the keys to those. Your ownership in the Bitcoin network will never go down. It can only go up. And on the flip side of things, if you had $1 million in a bank account, your purchasing power will never go up. It will only go down. Pretty important to understand that. Honestly, I think that's the most important thing, the simplest thing to understand in Bitcoin. And so here's the thing about it is like the other component of this is that that's if everybody stayed the same, if all the Bitcoiners who are here today, they held their Bitcoin, they spent it, they saved in it, your ownership still would not go down. But here's what happens. Your friends are going to start getting Bitcoin. Your family members are going to start saving in Bitcoin. People you've never met are going to start buying Bitcoin, and they're going to slowly start to understand Bitcoin. And once they understand Bitcoin, they're never going back to the fiat system. They're going to hold on to those coins forever, or those sats forever. Small businesses, because it's such a good store of value, businesses around the world are going to continue adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet, taking a portion of their profits and buying Bitcoin with that. Your enemies are going to be buying Bitcoin. BlackRocks, Trumps, whoever your enemies are, Xi Jinping, Epstein's bankers, they're all going to be buying Bitcoin. Investment advisors, everybody's offer right now, but at some point, every portfolio is going to have a Bitcoin component to it. Sports teams, I'm just naming some examples here, but the key thing here is that as this number grows, your friends, your family, the people you've never met, your enemies, these big companies, as they start buying Bitcoin, as this number grows, they're all fighting for the same amount. So every person that understands Bitcoin, there's more people after that scarce supply. And what happens when there's more and more people who are fighting for that same supply? The price goes up. When there's more people, when there's more demand fighting over that same scarce fixed supply, the price has to go up. Incredibly important to understand that part. So that's the magic number. Get that tattooed on your body. 2.1 quadrillion sats. All right, so the next part here is risk and expected outcome. So what's the biggest risk to Bitcoin? You have to ask yourself these questions because as a long-term holder, somebody who's the capital allocator of your family, you have to ask yourself these things. And so Bitcoin is a very long-term lens. And when you're taking those profits from whatever it is that you do, whatever value you add to the world, you want to store that in the best possible way. So what is the biggest risk to Bitcoin? It's very subjective. What are the expected? It's subjective in the sense that some people think that the biggest risk to Bitcoin is that it becomes captured by the big banks, by the governments, and it's not used as it was designed to be, which is a peer-to-peer electronic cash. Some people might say the value goes to zero. Some people might not care who's using it. They only care about what it's worth. So this is a very subjective question that you have to ask yourself. What are the expected outcomes? If I hold on to this asset based on this for the next 10 years, as more and more people lock themselves out of their wallet, or even if they don't, as more and more people join the network, my purchasing power goes up. That's the expected outcome of Bitcoin. Very important to understand that. I keep saying that, but it really is. Because again, if you have one sat in the network, your ownership will never go down. It cannot go down. It will only go up. So your expected outcome is the longer you hold on to this asset, the more it's going to be worth, the more purchasing power you're going to have in the future, because more and more people are going to join. They're not making more of it. And so the expected outcome here for Bitcoin is that the purchasing power is going to go up forever. That's why people say Bitcoin's going up forever, because of what we're talking about here, because it is. That's how it's designed. That's the only scenario. That's the only outcome here. So here's the best case scenario. This is something you should ask yourself too. Because the best case scenario for me is that this isn't really the best case, but this is the expected outcome for me. One sat at some point in the future will equal $1. And today, you can buy 1,150 sats for $1. So that's the best case, which means that you can trade essentially $1 for $1,150 in the future. That's the best case. I think it's going to be worth more than that as time goes on, because literally this thing is going up forever because of what we just talked about. And so best case, if you subscribe to that theory and you get yourself a couple million sats or a couple tens of millions of sats, or if you can get to one Bitcoin, understand what that's going to be worth for you and your family and their family into the future. If you can find a way to obtain that Bitcoin today, if you can find a way to protect that Bitcoin for the next 50, 100, and 150 years, your family is going to have more wealth that they could ever know what to do with. If this plays out like we expect it to here, that's the best case scenario. So it's a pretty high upside for Bitcoin. And then on the flip side of that, what is the worst case scenario? If Bitcoin fails, Bitcoin goes to zero, Bitcoin gets captured. Well, to me, the worst case scenario is you're going to be exactly like everybody else. Because if Bitcoin fails, that means that everything else fails, and whatever wealth you have is going to be worth absolutely nothing, because the world has been taken over by crazy psychopath lizards. So the worst case is that you're going to be just like everybody else. That doesn't seem like too much of a worst. I mean, I shouldn't say that, but it doesn't seem that bad. You're not going to get hung at town square. You're not going to get, you're not going to get exiled from your country. You're just going to be like everybody else. That's the worst case that happens here. And the best case is your family has more wealth than you could ever imagine. That seems like a pretty asymmetric trade to me. Basis for decision here. So when you're thinking long-term, you really have to understand the asset. You have to understand the characteristics and what makes the asset what it is. So you have to ask yourself, how long have you been studying Bitcoin? There's probably people on this chat here who have spent thousands of hours studying Bitcoin. And it seems like the more time you spend in Bitcoin, the more understanding you have, the more conviction you have, and the better you feel during weeks like this. So if you spend a couple hours or 10 hours, or you listen to a couple podcasts, just understand that you don't really understand anything. Just know that. Just be aware of that. So when the price is going up or down, it might not make sense to you. But the longer you spend in Bitcoin, the more conviction you have, and the better you're going to feel when the price is going up. Because you have to remember here, why is Bitcoin so volatile right now? Why? It's because it is so deeply misunderstood. There's probably less than 0.01% of this population that actually understands Bitcoin. And so if that's the case, which it is, how could it be fairly priced? How could it not be volatile? If less than 1 out of 1,000 people can actually explain Bitcoin to you in a detailed manner, how could this asset be even close to fairly valued right now? So that's important. How many people have spent 1,000 hours in Bitcoin and went back to fiat? Very few. You could probably count them on one hand, honestly. Because once you see it, once you understand how broken the fiat system is, once you understand how beautifully and perfectly designed Bitcoin is, you can't unsee it. The further you get into Bitcoin, the less likely you are to go back to the fiat system. And that's pretty important because that ties into my green light theory. And maybe we'll do a follow up of this next week talking about my green light theory, which in a nutshell means that the green light means that once the green light turns on in your mind, that's when you understand Bitcoin. You have that eureka moment where you understand the fixed supply, what it means. You understand the magic number and how one asset goes down forever and one asset goes up forever. You understand the difficulty adjustment and why Bitcoin is the only asset that's immune from technological advances. So once that green light turns on in your mind and you see this, you never go back. Which means that as this number here of your friends, your family, your enemies, small businesses, as that number grows, as more and more people are added to the Bitcoin network and more green lights turn on, that number never goes down because nobody understands Bitcoin and then decides that they're going to go back to a system where humans have the ability to print money. So you combine all this together and you can see why Bitcoin is such a good investment. It has nothing to do with speculation. The only people who are speculating on Bitcoin are the people who don't understand Bitcoin. They're the traders, the people who are trying to swing trade, trying to time the market, looking at charts. They're the people who are trying to wait out the market, hold on to their altcoins so they can swap into Bitcoin at a later date. They're the ones who are taking profits on their Bitcoin. Those are speculators. But the people who understand Bitcoin for what it is, those are investors. Those are people who are using Bitcoin as a battery to store their time and energy and as an investment for yourself, for your family, for your generations to come. So that's lesson number 5. That's lesson number 5. I feel pretty good about that one. So before we wrap up the clip here, I should say that we do these shows. You're watching it right now, but for the people watching the clips later, we do this show every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. We do it live. So the first part, hey, Arnie's coming to join us here, maybe. No, he bailed. We do the first part, which is kind of like the presentation part of it. Hey, Arn. And then the second part is like a Q&A, and we talk about some news that has happened throughout the week. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you do, just so you can have the notifications on if you enjoy this kind of stuff. If not, don't really care, but just throwing it out there. You can also, Arnie just showed up here, perfect time. You can send some sats if you got any sort of value from this. If you enjoy what I'm doing here, if you want to support the channel, you can send it to Arnie Boy's wallet here, or you can also send it to jor@rizful.com. That's my Lightning address. So again, if you enjoyed that, if you learned anything, if you want to support this channel, that's the best way to do it. And I always prioritize zaps on Nostr, super chats, and zaps to the wallet here. So if you have any questions, that's a good way to guarantee they get answers. And I see some zaps are coming through here on Zapstream. So yeah, Tuesdays, Saturdays, and we also do the Visionary show every single morning, actually, Monday to Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern time on Rumble and on Nostr. So I wish I had a link to that, or I wish that I had a QR code that you could scan, because we talk about a lot of good stuff in there. It's a little bit more than Bitcoin. It's a little bit more focused on like your mindset. So we kind of have three main focuses on the Visionaries community and the Visionaries show. Inner Citadel, which is your mindset, which is the most important part in Bitcoin, in my opinion. You have your Outer Citadel, which is like your network, your community, your physical location. And then we have the economic citadel, which is your wealth, your Bitcoin, understanding this kind of stuff. So we try to tie all three of those into the show every morning, the Visionary Show. And like I said, that's at 10 a.m. Eastern time, Monday to Friday. And I'll throw the link to that in the chat right now if you're watching this on YouTube. I would just hop over there, subscribe if you're not on Rumble yet. If you're not a subscriber over there yet, do. That's it's exclusively over there and on Nostr. So I'll put that in the chat there. Oh, that might not work. It has the HTML in it. YouTube loves this. YouTube loves when I do this. YouTube punished me pretty hard for talking about it. Oh, well. And I'm doing my best here to not swear either. But I see this. Look at this. Sats and Sunsets, one of the biggest supporters of the channel here on a day-to-day basis. I can't believe Arnie showed up for the show today. But somebody got an oh, there we go. Ginger. Ginger said, "You're too kind." So he was the beneficiary of the membership. So thank you, Sats and Sunsets, and congratulations, Ginger. Nice work. Nice freaking work, fellas. Okay, so let's check on Nostr here. We got some zaps over there. Canon Zap 420 said my favorite zap number. So thank you, Canon, for that. Appreciate it, buddy. 420, that is a good number. Sin Diesel zapped 18 and 45. My man, thank you, Sin. And Duncan, all three of these guys already zapped this morning for the show, for the Visionary Show. And they're still showing some love over on Nostr. So thank you, Duncan. 188 sats. And we got Sandre B with a rocket ship. All right, thanks. Appreciate it. Mucho appreciate. Praetorian, speaking of big supporters here, Praetorian sent a zap before the show even started today. And so I wanted to say a big thanks for that, which was what here, Praetorian? We got 5,000 sats from Praetorian. He said, we'll watch later. Kind regards from Praetorian. And Letha sent in 8,888 sats before the show started as well. So thank you, Letha, the icon. And Sonder B just zapped 21 sats and said, my favorite. Thank you, my friend. And he said, enjoying your streaming in my Nostr app. Nostria, if you ever have time, please try it out. Nostria.app. Cool. We're going to be talking about Nostr today a little bit. We got some good topics to cover today, but we'll get to the chat here first. I don't know how to say that one. Joalama? I don't know. Watching from Brazil. Right on. Cool, man. Thanks for being here. Cannon's on YouTube. Cannon's on Nostr. We got the Glorious V. We talked about this one. Bitcoin is absolutely the solution to 8 billion people. Bad Ruzaman Khan. Man, we got some wild names in the chat today. You guys trying to screw with me here? Said stacking Satoshi at this price. Amen. Tuesday. Double dip of Jor and Arnie. And Arnie even showed up today. Can you believe it? He's snoozing. But holy. Arnie, you got a couple big zaps here, buddy. We'll get to those in a sec. Wow. Alex is here. Good afternoon, Alex. Good to see you. Anyone buying sats? Actually, that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be talking about a new thing we're going to start doing on the show here today, just like the morning show. So we're going to be double dipping into that as well. Okay, my phone is charged enough. Now I got to plug my laptop in here. Okay, we got the Gronky Tonk man. Gronky Tonk, good to see you, buddy. What does this say? Tariq, thanks for the stream. In terms of education, what resources do you recommend to study and understand everything in the Bitcoin ecosystem? Good question. Very good question. I would say there's a lot of good people, man. Or a woman, I guess. But that's it. There's a series that Robert Breedlove and Michael Saylor did. Actually, Robert Breedlove, as much as I'm kind of back and forth with him, he did some really good series on his channel. And there's one that's with Saylor. It's called the Saylor series. And they did about 10 or 12 episodes. It's a little bit more in depth. Like Saylor's an engineer, and he speaks like an engineer. He has some amazing insights, but I don't know if it's the best for like somebody who's new to Bitcoin to understand. Honestly, like, who else? I mean, I try to talk to people who are very non-technical, who are not engineers, who are just trying to save and preserve a bit of their wealth. So definitely send them the 88 lessons playlist. I don't mean to sound like toot my own horn here, but this is literally what this series is for. Because I try to walk through it in a way where the average person can understand. I think the Sailor Breedlove series is good to kind of get to the next level of understanding, but to have a very basic understanding of Bitcoin and why it makes sense to have some, just check out the channel here. 88 lessons. You can find it on the YouTube channel. Ian's here, Cleaning Machine. Good to see you, buddy. VHF, Ginger, Sato Millionario. Good to see you. Man, you guys are really testing me with these names today. Applicanto. I'm here too. Right on. Stacked a mill. What? Oh, that's what you stacked so far. I got you. Okay. Well, don't be telling people how much Bitcoin you have. That's rule number 1 in Bitcoin. I thought you meant you stacked that today, or did you? That's bloodline changing amounts. Work save Bitcoin. Josh, cheers, buddy. Good to see you. Sin. Hola, peeps. Kenan says, join the visionaries. It's amazing. Start networking, providing value for people. Truth. Otto says, I like the risky, but the Bitcoin for me, not risky. This is a big opportunity for all of us. Amen. A frickin' man. Actually, Saylor said that one time. He said, only buy Bitcoin with the money you can't afford to lose. One of my favorite quotes. Only buy Bitcoin with the money you can't afford to lose. All right. What do we have here? We got Ian and VHF talking about predictions. Zup. Good to see you, $1.50. If you're stuck in fiat world, let's hope it's at least European, not Northern American. Oh, Sandy always just shows up and throws daggers. Just throwing daggers, man. I don't think there's a better place to live. As shitty as our government here is in Canada, I don't think I would rather live. We're going to fix North America. We're going to fix North America. We are. It's going to take some time, but we are going to fix North America. And I'm crazy enough to think that I'm going to be a small part of it. Good evening from the UK, Scraggy Dog. Good evening. Sato says, if there's any Spanish-speaking people here, I'd love to invite you to join my channel. I'm trying to contribute to the Bitcoin community by creating clear, simple content in Spanish. There you go. And now look at this. We got a couple zaps over in Nostr. Saunders zapped 210 sats, and Nostria zapped 1,000 sats and said, thanks for the shout out. All right, don't worry about it. We'll give you more than just a shout out here. We'll check her out. And thank you, Jor, for what you do. You have inspired me to pursue this goal. Right on. Love that. Bitcoin Hodl says units of illusion. I like that. Yeah, that one's, I think, sticking with people because that's all they are. They're units of illusion. And in just a second here, we're going to talk about units of illusion and units of freedom. Buck52 says, even if you've been around the block with Bitcoin, it's still good to refresh time to time on some basic principles. Agreed. Okay. Well, you know what? I saw somebody in the chat here and I saw a zap that came in. So I have to share this here. So now, first of all, we got 963 sats from Alex, who said, daily Arnie, beautiful sunrise. I feel inspired to get up early, from Alex to Arnie. And thank you, Alex. Somebody sent in 1,500 sats to Arnie Boy. And the big one for today, the giant row of ducks. This is a big one. 22,222 units of freedom. And the note says, "Hey, buddy, hope you and the family are well. Been crazy busy." And it has 2 orange hearts. I know that is from our guy, Ian E. I was just thinking about Ian the other day. I was thinking, where is Ian? Maybe I said something that pissed him off or something. But there he is. He reappears with the fattest zap of the day, maybe of the week so far. Thank you, Ian. Biggest risk is that every form of storage for your 24 words kind of sucks. That's true. People are definitely their biggest enemies here, their biggest threats. People worry so much about the quantum stuff and the black rocks and the core and the knots, and they don't really consider their own shitty security setup. So that's a great point there, Sandy. There he is right there, Ian E. Good evening, gang and Jor. Thank you, Ian, for the zap, buddy. Very much, very much. See, I started the show today. I said, we don't have any sponsors here. We took the hard path. We decided that we want to be true to ourselves. We want to maintain our voice. And it is people like Ian who have allowed that to happen. Plain and simple. Thank you, Ian. Ginger says the government is full of lot lizards. They will do anything to get your money with no care in their consequences, repercussions, and reputation. They care for no one but themselves. Sickening, man. It's absolutely sickening. Honestly, the best thing that you can do, and the thing that's helped me most in terms of the government is, oh, I almost dropped an F-bomb there. I got to be careful. I'm trying my best not to drop any F-bombs on these. I want to make these 88 lessons as family friendly as possible. But yeah, the government is not your friend. The best thing you can do, honestly, is just ignore them. Just do not pay them 1 second of attention. Ever. You see a video of Carney on Twitter, you see a video of Trump on X or on Instagram or YouTube, just click not interested. Or Keith Sturmer, whatever his name is in the UK. Just say not interested. Don't pay 1 second of attention to them, because the more you pay attention to them, the longer they're going to be around. And I know Ginger's not watching the news. That's for everybody else. Santino, look at that. One of our Bitcoin journeymen on the channel. Good to see you, Santino. John Chess, nice. Looking for another dip with my dry powder. Must be nice. I have 0 dry powder. Anytime I get powder, I wet it. I throw it in the Bitcoin ocean. Sats and Sunsets, my man. Thank you. Very much appreciate that. By the way, we're giving away a cold card queue for the month of December. So if you want the details on that, if you want a chance to win that, we're giving that away on the Visionary Show, which is every morning, Monday to Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And we're going to be giving a cold card queue away. And it is actually Sats and Sunsets who is donating it. It's $250 to CoinKite. So if you already have a queue, you can get you can put it towards a block clock or another cold card queue or a couple MK4s or whatever you need. So cheers to you, man. And yeah, that's month of December. Archon Studio says, any thoughts on Texas buying 10 million of BlackRock's IBIT? Love that. Congrats for your amazing content, George. Always cheers from Italy. I didn't hear that. I did not hear that news, but anytime that Texas can take BlackRock's Bitcoin, I approve of that. 100%. Did you sell seed phrase and earn 350 in the seed DK4 project? Okay, I don't even know how to get rid of this guy. Hide, ban user, delete comments. Bye-bye. I'm so broke I can't even pay attention. My grandma used to have a shirt that said that on it. I loved it. That's a great one. If I put alts to work on DLMM pools to degenerate money to DCA into Bitcoin, no. No. Just buy Bitcoin. Swap your alts. Don't wait. Buy Bitcoin. Vivian Julian, Professor Jor. Vivian, good to see you. Sailor has some great analogies to help understand the basics. Agree. He's been one of the best. Peter Hofer, King Cosmic, Matt FRL. How come the names are all weird on here today? Don't understand that, but anyways. Okay, let's get to some Nostr news here. We got a lot to talk about. Lesson 5 here. So what I'm going to do here for the next half hour, maybe. Yeah, maybe less. We'll see. Is I'm just going to be talking about some things that I've seen on Nostr, a couple different things that I want to talk about, and some important things that happened throughout the week in Bitcoin. So I think that we should start with this because this is pretty damn big news. Pretty damn big news. And November 17th, this was just over a week ago now. But we talked about it on last show. I want to bring this up here. I think we're on the wrong one. Oh, you know what? You know what we're going to do first? We're going to do our smash buy for the week. Before we do that, because I don't want to forget about that. That's a new thing we're doing on the show here. We do this every morning on the Visionary show. And I think it's pretty cool. And I want to start doing this. We should have started this probably on lesson 1, but I didn't. We weren't doing this yet. But these are our daily reminders for the Visionary show. But we do a smash buy every day. And so we're going to do a smash buy right now as well. So what we do is we use something like either ShakePay in Canada, where you can actually keep some dollars on there and you can convert it instantly to Bitcoin, or River in the US, I believe, allows the same thing where you can basically send a transfer to River and you can just keep a balance on River. And then every day you just smash buy. So it's like kind of an intelligent DCA is what it is. We call it the DCA here, or the DSA, the daily smash average. So the first thing that we do is we look at we're down. So we're down 1.8% from this time yesterday, which means we're buying $17 worth of Bitcoin. So again, numbers here don't matter. This for you could be $1, $2, $5, $10. But this is kind of like an intelligent DCA strategy where when the price is down for the day, you buy a little bit more. When the price is up, you buy a little bit less. When it's about where it was, you buy your average. And it's a good way to get more sats for your dollars. And so we already bought one today. We already did one smash buy this morning, but we're going to start doing this on the show today. So we're going to do this for the next 82 lessons. And we're going to see what it adds up to. I think it's going to be pretty special. So what I encourage you to do here is I encourage you to do the same. Again, you could do 50 cents, you could do $1, you could do $2, you could do $200. But what we do here is I keep track of my purchases. Everybody who attends the show every morning keeps track of their purchases on like a spreadsheet or a notepad. And we're gonna wait till the end and we're gonna see how much we all get. Because keep in mind here, we talked about the lessons today where there's only 2.1 quadrillion sats. And the more of these we do, the more sats we pull off the market into our hands, the less are available for the BlackRocks, for the Chinas, for the JP Morgans. And so all of these there's only so many sats to go around. And every time we do this, we're taking them off the market. And we're doing this in an intelligent fashion. So what did I say there? 17? $17. So I'm going to tell you kind of what this means here in a sec, but this spreadsheet's junky. For some reason, it doesn't put the freaking dollar sign there. Anyways, let's do a smash buy here. So if you don't have the ability, that's okay. You can either show up in the morning for the Visionary show or you can wait till next week. But what I want you to do is in the chat, if you're going to participate in this, let us know how many dollars you spent and how many sats you got for that in your country, because there is no price of Bitcoin. And that's another important lesson of this exercise here, is that there is no price of Bitcoin. Every country, every currency has a different exchange rate compared to sats. So I'm going to buy, do I even have enough for that? Oh, I do. Good. I'm going to buy $17 worth of Bitcoin right now. And that is going to get me 13,719 sats. 13,719 sats. So essentially what I just did there is I traded $17 today for $13,719 purchasing power in the future. I traded 17 units of illusion for 13,719 units of freedom. Or as Scotty says, and Scotty's probably snoozing right now, FUs, units of freedom. So we got 13,719. And the idea here is that we are quite certain that one sat will equal $1 one day. Not if, but when. So in other words, today we traded $17 today for $13,719 in the future. Not bad. Not a bad trade. We call that the deal of a lifetime. So that is our DSA. So if you contributed, if you partake in this today, throw in the chat how many dollars you spent and how many sats you got for that, and we'll share them on the screen here. So if you're the best way to do this, if you're in Canada, I suggest using ShakePay, because again, you can just send like $100 a week or whatever you want to buy, whatever you want to allocate to Bitcoin, and then you can just easily swap it. Bitcoin Well is a little bit harder, Bull Bitcoin a little bit harder too, because it takes a little bit more work. With this, it's just one simple buy. If you're in the US, use River. Those are my recommendations. And I'll actually put, just in case you don't have them here, I'll put them in the chat for you. But part of that is this, because I'm guessing most people here already are using an exchange. But here's what you want to have. It's two is one is none. For exchanges, for your recovery phrases, for your data, your media, your passwords. If you only have one of them and you lose it or it goes down, you have none. So you want to have two or three at least. And that's why I suggest, regardless of what country you're in, you should be signed up for at least 3 different Bitcoin exchanges. So I'm going to share these 2 links. So again, even if you use like Strike in the US, or if you're using Bitcoin Well in Canada, I would still recommend setting up an account just to kind of have these in your toolbox. Keep them in your back pocket for, days where the Cloudflare thing happens, where Strike was down, or when the price is running up or going down and some exchange goes down for maintenance, they call it. Really, they're just shutting the off ramps. But you never just want to be reliant on one. So I would suggest that every person here who's serious about Bitcoin, you should have at least 3 different accounts at exchanges. So let me take this off here, and I'm going to share my links to, I think ShakePay, you get $25 worth of Bitcoin if you use the link. And I think with River, you actually get $100 worth of Bitcoin if you use the link. $100, pretty crazy. River's freaking awesome. I'm a big fan of a River. But yeah, essentially what you do is you just kind of send a transfer to the exchange once a week, and then you can partake in these DSAs. You keep some dollars on there, and then you do intelligent purchases there. So that's River. And there's ShakePay. So one for the US, one for Canada. And then you just keep a little bit on there, and you can be part of it here. So Matt got 807 sats of freedom, units of freedom, for 1 Canadian trash token. And I know there's a lot of people who have already done it today for our morning show. So definitely don't feel like you have to do it here, but you can never have too many sats. And something happened to my screen here. What the heck? I lost all my tabs. Sats Oil, look at this. We got Sats Oil said, wish to have a platform like River in Italy too. And Sats Oil zapped 1,000 sats olives for the harvest. Thank you, Sats Oil. And also said, what blows my mind is that the last time Bitcoin will be mined, it will be just 10 sats. Yeah, we didn't even talk about that today. So for the last 40 years in Bitcoin, there's going to be 1 Bitcoin mined. From the year 2100 to the year 2140, there's going to be one Bitcoin mined. So that's the upside. If you can somehow, some way scratch and claw to get yourself one Bitcoin, think about what that's going to be worth at that time. When the whole world, all the energy of the world is spending 40 years trying to mine one Bitcoin, and your family has one of those Bitcoin, even if you had a fraction of that and you actually kept it, you didn't sell it when it went down or up, you didn't take your security for ground, you actually protected it properly. If you protected any amount of sats for the next 100 years, that's the upside. That's the upside. Peter went hard today. He spent 1 Canadian penny for 8 freedom tokens. Do I have to manage UTXOs with Strike and River? Of course, you got to manage UTXOs. Well, you don't. That's why I guess that's why they're good. That's why ShakePay is good, because you can just buy Bitcoin on the app. And then whenever you feel like you have a sufficient amount for a UTXO, that's when you move it to your cold storage. And it'd be the same with River and Strike too. So you could buy like $8 right now, but that's not going to create a UTXO in your cold storage. You can essentially let that balance build up. So yeah, I guess you don't have to manage your UTXOs, but you kind of do. I don't really know what you mean there. But yeah, I mean, every time let's say that you bought $10 worth of Bitcoin on River right now, that's not a UTXO. It's only a UTXO when you move it from River to your cold storage wallet. So that's why, I mean, if you're just buying small amounts like this, that's why ShakePay is great. That's why River's great, Strike, because you can let your balance build up on there, even though you don't actually own the Bitcoin at that point. You can let it build up so that when you move it, you have a bigger UTXO and you don't run into UTXO hell like I have before. That has to be CAD. Rod, yes, it is CAD. Because if I was in USD, I'd be getting, that $17 would have got me at least probably 19,000 sats, 18,000 maybe. Look at this, Ian. And I mean, the pound too. The pound and the euro, they've been killing it. I don't know what's going on there, but anyways, Ian got 75,124 freedom units in exchange for 50 units of illusion. What a trade. And that's the other part of this too, that I'm dealing in pretty small amounts here with these daily buys. Oh, where was that now? But just imagine this, like this is the real trade here. So if you subscribe to this theory that I'm talking about here in terms of dollars today versus dollars in the future, let's say that you had $1,700 that you put into it. So then that would be what? 1,700 would be 1371900. Is that 1 million? Yes. So you could trade $1,700 today for 1.3719 million in the future. So it doesn't look as good. I mean, it's still pretty cool to be able to trade $17 for 13,000 in the future at some point. Again, not if, but when. That's the key. When. I don't know. Could be 20 years, could be 50 years, could be 200 years. But at some point, this $17 that you bought today is going to be worth $13,000 in the future. Purchasing power. This isn't in a scenario where one loaf of bread is $2,000 either. This is $13,000 worth of today's purchasing power. And the bigger it goes, the crazier the spread is there. So good on you, and that's a pretty good trade there. Pretty good trade. ASC says Bitcoin is speculation only if you don't understand it. Exactly. And that's what we spent the first 40 minutes talking about today. Bitcoin is too risky to own. Nice. I'm glad you're spending some of your most scarce resource watching a show about Bitcoin when you think it's too risky to own. That's a great use of time. Great use of time. You definitely do not seem like a Bitcoiner. Applicanto, make different UTXOs. 1 million sats, 5 million sats, 30 million sats. Yep. That is the play. One of these lessons, we're going to be talking about UTXOs. We'll spend some time. And I should mention too, if you want to kind of shortcut this, I have 2 other courses that are already done or somewhat done. The 21-day Bitcoin journey basically covers these 88 lessons in 21 days. And then the 365 days of Bitcoin is much broader. We cover pretty much every topic in Bitcoin. And both those courses are available if you're a member of the Visionaries there. So yeah, if you want to kind of skip ahead, if you want info on like private key management, about UTXO management, about earning Bitcoin, ways to do it, best practices, you can join the Visionaries community and you have access to all that. And then when we go through it for 88 lessons, you're going to be an expert at it already. Okay, so the DSA is done. I guess that'd be a weekly essay, WSA. Yeah, what am I at for time here? We're doing pretty good. But I do want to talk about a couple different things here. Oh, coffee's done. This is kind of cool. How long is this? 2 minutes. Definitely worth our time here. This is such a cool graphic. What's the sound though? I don't know if I can play that or not. I'm going to play like the first. You know what? Who cares? Who cares? I don't care. I've made a career about not caring on this platform. Probably longer than most because of that, but it is what it is. So here we go. This is a very good graphic of the 95% of Bitcoin that has been mined so far. Really cool here. So as you can see here, we're in the 5th epoch here. The subsidy is 3.125 Bitcoin. The total amount of Bitcoin is 19.95 million, which is 95%. So let's see how we got here. This reminds me of like Super Troopers, like the German techno there. But basically what you're looking at here is on the left side over here, this is the percentage of Bitcoin mined. So during the first 4 years in Bitcoin, as you're about to see here, the 50% of the supply was mined. This is the price over here. This is the price in USD terms, this chart here. So we're probably going to get in trouble from YouTube for that, but it is what it is. It was better with the music. So look at that. That's 95% of the Bitcoin supply. That's what has been mined in the first 17 years of Bitcoin. And for the last 110 years, that's how much Bitcoin is left to be mined. And so for anybody who's like somewhat new to Bitcoin, maybe you bought when Trump was elected, maybe you bought this year, you just got to zoom out. And there's highs, there's very rapid run-ups, there's huge crashes, there's consolidations, there's a bit of everything. But you can notice the trend here, right? And just imagine what this is going to look like in a couple decades from now. You saw how slow it was moving here compared to like the first 30 seconds where all this was done, and then like the last minute we basically mined this, and it's only going to slow down here over these next 111 years. So pretty cool. I wanted to share that because that's a really good visual to show where we are right now, big picture. Another thing here that I wanted to share with people. This is from the grinder over in Nostr said Epoch 1 was the goodest. Grinder just loves flexing that he was here in Epoch 1. And I would be doing the same. So everybody's had these big expectations for October and November, maybe even December. But as Hoddle points out here, he said, I had such high expectations for this year. $1 million per coin, buy a mansion perhaps, own a Porsche. Why not? Then my friend got cancer. My dog died. I broke my wrist and Bitcoin was negative for the year. LOL. Life. So I just want to share this as kind of a good reminder that life doesn't really care what you want. Life doesn't work on your timelines. And part of being a Bitcoiner is keeping a very long-term lens with everything and understanding that life is very unexpected. And when you have an asset like Bitcoin, which is understood by less than 1% of the population, there's going to be ups and downs. Because until like 15% of the population understands what Bitcoin is, it's still going to be incredibly volatile and incredibly unpredictable. So if you're thinking that this is going to be something that's like a sure win that you can put some dollars into it and in 6 months or a year, you're going to be able to cash out and buy a mansion or a Porsche, you're dreaming. That's just not the reality here. So it's important to go in with the right mindset, the right expectations, and it's going to make a big difference, I think, for you in the future. This was another thing here too that I wanted to share because I've been talking about Nostr. I talk about Nostr a lot, and this is another post from Nostr here about Nostr. It's a post from X, reposted on Nostr about Nostr, and it's from Ben Justman. And shout out to I think it's Peony Lanes Wine, the wine guy on Nostr. But he said Peter with the tweet of the day. And Peter McCormick, I don't know if a lot of people here would recognize Peter, but he used to do the show called What Bitcoin Did. Danny runs it now, which was his sound guy. But he said, why is everyone crying about Bitcoin on X? All the old-time Bitcoiners are on Nostr, laughing, not caring. The crybaby doom mongers are new to this. Stop being a pussy. Apologies. I made it an hour and a half without swearing. Stop being a pussy. Building a new global financial system was never going to be easy. Amen, Pete. So if you're not on Nostr yet, I highly, 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 highly recommend you are. Why? Because things like this. Let me show you why. Because when you make posts on Nostr, you don't get likes. I mean, you do, but I haven't liked a post on Nostr in probably 2.5 years. So you have the option there. That's the fiat button. But people can send you zaps. People can send you sats. If you have a good post that people like and resonate with, they can send you sats. And you got people like American Hoddle. You got people like Matt Odell. You got people like that lady. You got people like E and that girl and Jor. And a bunch of people in the chat here on Nostr. So if you're not on Nostr yet, you're really, really messing up, in my opinion. Because that's where the good vibes are. 95% mind. What's this one here? I like this one. This is a really good post. This is also on, believe it or not, Nostr. From UTXO, the webmaster. I'm pretty sure this guy's a Canadian. I've had a lot of interaction with him on Nostr. I like him. But this is a good post. He says, for anyone semi new to Bitcoin, a little advice at times like this. The amount of cope you're about to see will be off the charts. Blaming being early, blaming the Fed, blaming influencers, blame. But the truth is, times like this are the best times to be a Bitcoiner. Everyone who tries to make money on Bitcoin gets wrecked and gives you their coins. Everyone who tries to make Bitcoin their money gets stacked and becomes the envy of their peers 2 to 3 years later. We'll probably have 1 or 2 years of great pricing to build our stacks even more and learn what Bitcoin really is instead of getting excited about the price. Take advantage of this Black Friday sale and happy Thanksgiving to my American friends. UTXO, the webmaster, who got 968 sats for that post. Hey, and there's Sats Oil right there. I'm not convinced we're going to have 2 years of this, but either way, when the time comes, you should be taking advantage of this because this really is the best time to be a Bitcoiner. If you're here for the right reasons, if you're here for the long term, if you consider Bitcoin an investment and not a speculation, these really are the best days to be a Bitcoiner. So shout out to UTXO, the webmaster. Where's the other one here? This might be from Jeff Booth. No, Guy Swan. Another legend in the Bitcoin space. Guy Swan. He said, the fact that we all contribute, maintain, run, and protect the Bitcoin network together and have done so successfully for over 16 years without anyone in charge is incredible when you really stop to think about it. No one is directing any of this. It's pure alignment of incentives through a brilliant economic protocol. And Guy got 1,706 sats for that one. 1,706 sats for that great post. And it's true. It's pretty amazing when you think about it that way. I think we kind of take it for granted some days. There's no CEO. There's nobody giving directions. There's no marketing team. There's no board of directors. There's no staff. Everybody's just aligned. Everybody's just moving in the same direction. And that's what Bitcoin feels like to me. It feels like the fiat system, everybody's like this. Everybody's fighting each other. Everybody's trying to go in different directions. Everybody's only there for themselves. Whereas Bitcoin, everybody's kind of going together. As he said there, it's pure alignment of incentives. It's pure alignment. Everybody's in alignment. Everybody's moving in the same direction. Everybody wants this thing to succeed, and it's going to because of that. And there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be lots of FUD out there. But over the long term, we're going to do it. We're absolutely going to do it. Because you got to keep in mind here, we are right about Bitcoin. And there's going to be days where you might doubt that, but we are right about Bitcoin. And long term, that's what's going to play out here because nobody's in charge, which means nobody can take it down. And it seems like the harder that people fight and try to attack Bitcoin, the harder Bitcoin wins. It's like that beast where you cut off one head and then like 3 heads grow. Was it Madeira? No. Medina? I don't know. Freaking fiction characters. But that's basically what Bitcoin is. And it's pretty cool that everybody's just kind of working together, building together, and everybody's aligned with it because it's one of those things. And my dad always used to say this. He said, it's amazing what can be accomplished when nobody cares who gets the credit. And to me, that just seems like Bitcoin. By the way, if you need some electrolytes in your life, get some Element. Man, this stuff's good. Lemonade salt is the best flavor. I think I have a link, but I don't think I even get anything for it if I share it. So it's good shit though. More salt, not less. That's their theme. Okay. Grinder says, no, it's not that. It was just the biggest PAMP percentage wise. Yeah, that was that's like straight up, man. I'm just bugging you, Grinder. Aaron says, Bitcoin won't be mainstream until everyone has a wallet like they do a cell phone. We still early AF. True. Grinder zapped 888 sats. Thank you, Grinder. And Aaron said, Medusa. Respect to the Greek myths. Medusa. We got a couple different ones here. VHF said Hydra. Sin said Hydra. Solar said Medusa. Sats and Sunset says Hydra. Is this the same person? I don't know. But you know who I'm talking about. You knew. You got it. You got it. Grinder, thanks for the sats, buddy. 888 sats. What a great number. Appreciate that. Preach. Okay, we got about, I don't know, a couple minutes here, then we'll wrap things up for the week. Man, I love these shows. Some days I miss YouTube, but most days I don't. I shouldn't say that. I always forget that YouTube's listening to every word that I say here. But it's nice just to be able to say I feel much more free on the other platforms there. But anyways, let's. I wanted to share that Nostr client, that Nostria. I wanted to check that one out quickly. From Sonder. Nostria.app. Let's see what this looks like. Oh, this is kind of cool. You can create a new account with 2 clicks. I've actually been looking for a client where I can send people to sign up for Nostr. Well, should we walk through this? I guess we got some time. I feel like there's a lot of people watching this who aren't on Nostr yet. So let's go to new user. What should we call you? What should we call us? Medusa or Hydra? Medusa, Hydra. Because I don't know if they're the same person. I don't know who's right, who's wrong. So we're going to go with both. Create account. All right, that was pretty easy. Okay, now let's see how the discovery is on here. If we search for the grinder, enter. Enter. Grinder's non-existent, I guess. Search for profiles or paste identifiers. Jor. How would I do that then? Okay, discover. How do I find people on here? Create a note. Okay. What's up, Nostr? Now I need to find this guy, I guess. So that was a pretty easy setup. You notice how you didn't have to put in your name or your phone number or your email address. So I'm going to publish that. That's our Medusa Hydra profile here. So now I wonder if we go to, how would I be able to see my private key in here? People, messages, media streams. There we go. Credentials. There we go. Okay, so that's pretty slick, actually. I'm a fan of this client. So you can add a wallet there with NWC. So you got your public key here. This is what you would share with people if you wanted them to find you. And then this is your NSEC. This is your password, essentially. So on Nostr, they have public keys and private keys. And a public key is kind of like your username. This is very unique. There's only going to be one of these that you have. You could call yourself Medusa Hydra. You could call yourself Nav. You could call yourself whoever you want to. There could be 30 Navs on Nostr. But this is how people identify themselves with their NPub. It's unique. And then this is what you want to write down. So the cool thing about Nostr is like you could actually take this this key pair, just like Bitcoin has a receive address and a private key, or a public address and a private key. It's the same kind of thing here. So you could actually take your NSEC and you could go over to Primal, you could go over to Amethyst, you could go over to Domus. Any client on the Nostr protocol, you could use your same NSEC, your password, and you're going to have all the same posts. You're going to have all the same people that you're following. All your followers are going to carry over to you, and everything's going to look the exact same. The only difference between clients is like the features on there. So like the layouts, different clients have different things, different features involved with the app or the website. What else was I going to do there? Settings. I wonder where you put your, I guess you have to connect with NWC with that. Anyways, credentials. So that's where you get your NPubs. So you need to get your NWC there. And I mean, you could ask AI pretty easily how to connect your Nostr wallet there. So I just wish that this had better search. That's the only thing that I would change about this. Search for cache profiles or paste identifiers. So you can't really search based on username, I guess. But what if I search my NPub? I wonder if that would show up there. We're doing a little Nostr tutorial here for anybody who's new to Nostr. We're way over time. I got to actually drive into the city right now. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm just procrastinating, I guess. Okay, so if I get my NPub, come on. Come on, come on. Why is this not working now? Public key. Okay, how do I copy this now? Copy public key. There we go. So now if I go back to here and I paste that in here. Oh, there we go. So I guess you just need an NPub. So it's not great for like searching names, but that was actually pretty slick. So that's Nostria. I like it. That was probably the smoothest setup. We'll follow Jor. Nice. So now, there we go. Little Nostr tutorial for you there. So Nostria seems like a pretty good way to, if you're looking for to get set up on Nostr, because most people go to like nostr.com and it just takes them down this weird rabbit hole. But oh, there we go. Saunders over here right now. He said, try this, fill the URL into the search input, then put add to playlist. Oh, cool. But yeah, you can search for with an NPub. I got you. I kind of like the fact that Primal, you can search like Jor and it pops up on there. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like Nostr, it all runs on the same protocol, just like Bitcoin. So Bitcoin's a protocol, Nostr's a protocol, email is a protocol. And then on top of that protocol, there's all these different clients or like apps. But you have your private key and your public key, and you can kind of jump between different clients, and everything's the same. All of your information carries over, all of your followers, your posts. And so you could go from Nostria to Primal to wherever. So that's what kind of makes Bitcoin, or sorry, Nostr censorship resistant, is the fact that even if a client banned you, then you could just use your NSEC NPub and go over to somewhere else. Kind of cool. And the best thing is you can send sats to each other instead of fake fiat likes. Okay, looks like we got a zap here from who? Cypher. Said one more time for the one time. Great show, Johar. 1,111 sats. Thank you, Cypher. Appreciate that, buddy. Okay, we're going to wrap things up. I got to get the I got to get the heck out of here. What's the incentive for people to run a node for Nostr? I wouldn't worry about that. Just start very slow. Just get yourself an NSEC and an NPub and piss around a bit. So in the show notes today, if you're watching this later or you want to come back in like 5 minutes from now, I'm going to have, what did I have in here today? Oh, a link to my daily show. I'm going to put link to daily show. I'm going to have ShakePay. I'm going to have River. I'm going to have the Visionaries community on School. I'll try to find my Element link. I don't know if, I think you get a free sample pack if you use my link. Like a sample pack of the different flavors. And I'm going to put my NPub in there too. So if you end up signing up for Nostr and you want to follow me over on Nostr, I'm going to put my NPub in my pinned comments here right after the show. So, I mean, you can always come back in 2 hours or whatever. But if you want to follow me on Nostr, if you sign up for an account and you want to follow each other on there, then I'll put it in the show notes there. So all that's going to be in the pinned comments of this video. I use Amethyst. I'm on Android. That's my favorite one. But I'm going to start using Nostria, it looks like, on here. Okay, ASC says crash doesn't feel like a crash compared to previous years. It just feels like a domino effect. Liquidations on longs. Very true. Hey, Dean, didn't even know you're here. Good to see you, buddy. 5% is spread over the next 100 years. That is insane. The last percent from 2035 to 2140. Last single percent. Nuts. Bitcoin Huddle says, nice. Just set up River account in the time since you mentioned that quick. Setting up recurring buy. Nice. Can even do $1 of illusion money a day. Yeah. River's great. If you're in the US and you're not using River yet, I highly, highly, highly encourage you to. They got some really cool features on there. They show proof of reserves. And if you end up using my link, or if you end up telling them later that you signed up with my link, you get $100 worth of free Bitcoin, up to $100, I think. So it's definitely worth your time and energy to use that. Okay. So anyways, I got to hit the road. There's a lot of comments over on Nostr. Thanks, everybody. Big shout out to E&E for the fat zap today. That's a big one. That helps a lot. Thank you, Ian. And again, if you enjoyed the show today, you can send some sats to Arnie, or you can send to my wallet over on Rizful pretty easily. And on Rumble, they actually have a wallet there with USDT, Bitcoin. And so if you're not on Lightning yet and you want to send an on-chain payment, you can actually do it on Rumble now, which is pretty badass. It doesn't have Lightning yet, but look at this. You can send a tip over on Rumble. Pretty cool. So you get like a Rumble wallet. Send a tip over on a Rumble wallet on the App Store. It's called Rumble Wallet. And then you can keep USDT, you can keep Bitcoin in there, and you can do it that way. It's only on chain right now, but I'm sure Lightning will be coming. But anyways, I'd rather not go through Rumble if you're sending it on Lightning. But if you don't use Lightning and you want to support the channel, that's the best way to do it there. And I see we got a couple of new followers there. We got Dean. All right. That's it for today, folks. That's it. That's all. And big shout out to Sats and Sunsets for gifting Ginger a membership today. So thanks everybody on YouTube, on Rumble, on Nostr. Thanks for stopping by today. Again, we're going to do the replay of this, the clip. It'll be about half an hour probably on Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern. And make sure you stop by for the Visionaries there. Every day, Monday to Friday. And you're going to get to hang out with some pretty special people over there. And well worth your time, I would say. If you're free from 10 a.m. Eastern time, Monday to Friday, check it out. Okay, thanks everybody. We'll see you either tomorrow morning on the Visionary Show, or we'll see you next Tuesday for the 88 lessons. So thanks again. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the support. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.